Hello, dear friends. Many people around me do not understand why I don't eat meat, dairy products, and processed foods, and ask me why the hell I have decided to live such a joyless vegan life and how long I'm planning to continue to do this. So I decided to post this video explaining the top reasons behind my decision to become a vegan. And maybe this will inspire you to do the same. For many people, a vegan lifestyle is only for the well-being of animals and our environment. But there is much more behind the vegan lifestyle. It is a philosophy, a belief system, and in my case, it took me several years of investigation and research before one day I understood that something is going fundamentally wrong on our planet. And from one second to the next, I saw the big picture crystal clear in front of my eyes, and I changed my life completely. And today I'm going to explain to you what this big picture is, and I promise you, once you really understood this big picture in the bottom of your heart, this will make an incredible change to your life as well. Basically, this big picture is made up of three elements, which we will go into in more detail. Number one, health or illness are largely determined by diet. Number two, our diet has an incredibly large influence on the health of our wildlife. And number three, our diet inevitably has an influence on our karma. We will get to the meaning of this in a few minutes. Looking back on my childhood and adolescence in the late 70s and 80s, I don't remember ever hearing anything about chronic diseases. Over time, however, I noticed that more and more people around me were becoming ill, and I mean serious chronic illnesses such as cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, cancer, and dementia. And I used to think that maybe it was because you were rarely exposed to it as a child, and as an adult, it's easier to notice when someone gets sick or dies, and that getting sick is a natural process as you get older. But somehow, I always had the feeling that that couldn't be right, and that something was fundamentally wrong in our society, in our food and healthcare system. And I mean, if you think deeper about how our food and healthcare system is structured, you will have to be blind or ignorant to not see that something is fundamentally wrong. The food industry has been bombarding us with ads about supposedly healthy dairy and meat products for decades, and most people don't even ask themselves whether these foods are really as healthy for us as we are led to believe. A person who has consumed these foods for decades then one day becomes ill and goes to the doctor. After lengthy examinations, the doctor then makes the shocking diagnosis of colon cancer or cardiovascular disease. After this diagnosis, the doctor then begins therapy. Unfortunately, the therapy is not aimed at eliminating the true cause of the disease and allowing the body to recover naturally, but it's purely about combating symptoms with medications that themselves have the risk of serious side effects. Now let's take a heart attack as an example. In the event of an impending or acute heart attack, the blocked coronary arteries are usually dilated using a catheter, and a so-called stent is implanted into the artery to prevent them from closing again at this point. Blood-thinning medications are given, and if necessary, morphine for the pain. And this procedure is absolutely necessary and life-saving, but it does not eliminate the true cause of the heart attack. The real cause that led to the blockage of the coronary arteries in the first place is still there, namely an excessively high level of LDL cholesterol in the blood. And the excessive LDL cholesterol is undoubtedly caused by a bad diet, meat, dairy products, eggs, and highly processed foods. What the treating doctor usually does not do is prescribing a diet that naturally reduces the LDL levels in the blood, meaning a purely plant-based diet. I don't want to insinuate that any doctor is acting maliciously or negligently, but rather unknowingly. Because what is completely missing from medical studies are important lectures about nutritional science and treating diseases through a purely plant-based diet. If you want to know more about why and how non-plant-based foods cause our blood vessels to close and lead to the many well-known chronic diseases, then watch this video. Our health or illness is primarily determined by our diet. Foods made from animal proteins increase LDL cholesterol in the blood and thus the risk of suffering from a chronic disease. A natural vegan diet promotes health and even cures chronic diseases. And there are a large number of cases where patients with cardiovascular disease or type 2 diabetes became completely healthy only through a consistent and long-term change in their diet. Animal agriculture is a major contributor to greenhouse gas emissions, deforestation, water pollution, and other environmental problems. Raising animals for food requires large amounts of land, water, and feed, and it generates significant amounts of methane and other greenhouse gases. And if we were to do without meat and milk, we would need just a quarter of all agricultural land and humanity would still be fed. Without meat and dairy products, the world's agricultural land could be reduced by up to 75%, an area the size of the US, China, the EU, and Australia combined. Not eating meat and dairy products has the greatest impact on our ecological footprint. And meat and dairy products provide only 18% of all calories and 37% of proteins. And their production also accounts for more than 60% of greenhouse gas emissions from agriculture. And by the way, this was found out in a study by the University of Oxford. By contrast, plant-based diets have a much lower environmental impact and can help reduce our carbon footprint. Natural farming practices are better for the environment as they promote sustainable agriculture and reduce the use of harmful chemicals that can pollute soil and water. Another reason why eating natural food is so important is animal welfare. The treatment of animals in the production process of meat and dairy products is a major ethical concern. And factory farming practices involve confining animals in small spaces, using growth hormones and antibiotics, and subjecting them to harsh conditions. And these practices are cruel and harmful to animal welfare. I believe that all animals have inherent value and should be treated with respect and compassion. Killing animals for human consumption or other purposes can be seen as an infringement of their rights and a violation of their welfare. And that means what we are doing to our wildlife by raising farm animals that only serve to satisfy our insatiable hunger for meat and dairy products is irresponsible. Irresponsible to the animals, irresponsible to the forests, and irresponsible to our children and their children. I mean, we are leaving them a completely exploited world in which there may be very little wild animals and forests left. In other words, we are leaving a sick planet to our descendants. If you think about it, it's incredibly sick. Through the wrong diet, we not only make our bodies sick, but also our home, Mother Earth, and therefore all living beings that live on this planet, including our children and their children. The last element in the big picture is our karma. Maybe you have not heard anything about karma before, Or maybe you did hear about karma but just did not take it seriously. So let me explain to you what I mean by that. Karma is a concept in Hinduism, Buddhism, and other Eastern religions that refers to the sum of a person's actions in this and previous lives, which influences the future. And according to these belief systems, actions have consequences that affect one's karma. In general, actions that cause harm to other living beings are considered to have negative consequences for one's karma. And in the context of cruel and harmful practices in the production process of meat and dairy products, the effect on our collective karma is enormous. Now, some people might argue that the intention behind an action is more important than the action itself. So, for example, if someone kills an animal with the intention of eating meat, this will likely have a different effect on their karma than if they killed the animal for selfish reasons. But there is one significant question concerning this argument. Do I really need meat on my plate when there is a huge variety and quantity of plant-based foods available? Now you could say, but I don't believe in karma and reincarnation and all that spiritual nonsense. Then I would answer you, the fact that you, as a meat eater, get your steak ready on your plate and do not torture the animals yourself through the unnatural and unworthy breeding, and in the end do not kill it with your own hands, does that free you from your guilt for the torment and death of this animal? No, it doesn't. Because when Stephen gets killed on the street by Matthew, and you knew that Matthew planned to kill Stephen, then you will be found guilty of incitement to murder. I certainly don't want to be accused in any way for aiding the bodily harm and murder of animals. And our debt to these poor animals is incredibly high. Worldwide, more than 70 billion land animals are killed for food every year. This is 192 million animals every single day. And this is it. This is the big picture. After I understood these three elements, health, Mother Earth with all its creatures, and karma, there was no other way for me than to give up all animal and processed foods from one day to the next. And if you now feel a little bit of accountability for your health and a little bit of empathy for our wildlife, Mother Earth, and our wonderful kids, then I invite you to watch our free online course, which will hopefully also impact your lifestyle, your health and longevity in a very positive way. All the aspects I described in this video are explained in a detailed and comprehensive way in this online course. If I have piqued your interest about a vegan lifestyle, then please visit us on our website. You will find all relevant links underneath this video. Thank you for watching. See you soon on Healthy by Nature. Stay healthy and happy.